It's a well-known fact that athletes have coaches, but do you have one to help you navigate your professional journey? Welcome back to the Cleveland Pulse Podcast. I'm your host, Edwin Hubbard Jr., and today we are joined by a very, very special guest, my friend, entrepreneur, Paris Lampkins from Lampkins & Co. is here to talk to you about what it means to be an executive coach. Welcome, Paris.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Yeah.
So very often I have incredible guests, but you are unique in what you do. But before we get into that, give the audience a little bit about who you are and how you came to be.
Really high level overview of me. Born and raised here in Cleveland, spent about 16 and a half years in higher education / workforce development. Maybe like the 13th year, I wanted something different, and I wanted to really kind of focus in and work with professionals about their leadership journey. And my boss kept, giving me feedback in the past that I was over indexing on professional growth and career planning and et cetera, et cetera. And I remember one day being on LinkedIn and I actually wrote, I wish that I can get paid to do this. And at the time I didn't have the language or understanding to even know that that was a career path. Fast forward, I spent some time working in a boutique consulting firm here where I learned the ins and outs. And then, education helped me kind of refine and hone my craft. So now I stand here beside you, or before you, I guess, as the executive coach that I wanted to be.
And the thing I didn't mention is you are almost done completing a doctoral program.
Yeah. But according to Brandy, almost doesn't count. But you're absolutely right. I am technically ABD, all but dissertation. I have a date from my committee to defend this September. So let's hope it doesn't get pushed back and postponed like the proposal defense did. Yeah.
And so that's really cool. Hey, it just shows how intelligent you are and the things that you've done. Listen, you don't give yourself credit, but I will.
Yeah. More than anything, I think with the doctoral degree or like studying at that level, you just have to be determined. You have to really, really, really figure out, you have to study or research something that you are so passionate about that it wakes you up at night because you just have this burning desire to kind of unpack or uncover the why. And specifically, my research is centered around Black women who are navigating predominantly white spaces. So at a very high level, I study systems and structures that oppress African Americans when they're primarily working in white spaces.
And you serve as an executive coach.
I serve as an executive coach, yes.
For those women to navigate their careers.
Yeah, so I'd like to think of myself as a bit of a career navigation specialist coupled with executive coaching. In addition to the executive coaching, I do some training and development, public speaking, as well as wardrobing. So Lampkins & Co. is a boutique consulting firm that is designed to be able to partner with an organization or a woman to kind of upscale, train, develop, or what have you.
So I'm a sports guy. I'm going to put everything in sports terms.
Okay, I'm going to try to follow you.
I'm going to transition this a little bit. All right, so as a Cleveland fanatic, right?
Okay.
And as a person who has coached kids in sports, but is just avid in watching, I see the importance of having a coach. For myself as a coach with children, it's much different than with adults, right? I'm helping these kids develop a love for whatever sport that they're playing. I'm helping them see the best in themselves. I'm helping them work on the specifics. So in baseball, if you're not a hitter, I can help you really develop your hit and help you learn how to be a more efficient hitter. This is not necessarily focused on home runs, but this is focusing on consistently hitting the ball. Same thing in catching, same thing in pitching, and same thing in understanding and recognizing the plays, if you will, as they come about.
Okay.
It's no different in basketball. I'm getting this team to gel together, right?
Yeah.
I'm working on specific skills like dribbling, shooting, defense, and passing the ball. All of these are critically needed building blocks in order for these players to have any kind of level of success at the next level.
Yeah.
All right. And so if I am successful as a coach, these kids then love the game. They have gotten better. and then they want to continue to grow into the next level. But here we're talking about a whole different playing field, right?
Realm.
These kids would have matriculated all the way up to pro. So now that you've made it, and I gotta remiss if you never stop needing coaching.
Never.
You never stop needing somebody to help you see the blind spots that you don't see in your own career. And that's why I think that this is such an important conversation. What does it look like and what does it feel like to have an executive coach in your corner?
So I'd like to tell my clients that there's a formula for success. And one of the formulas is having the appropriate personal boards or personal individuals on your personal boards of directors. What that looks like is an accountant, an attorney, an executive coach, your healthcare team, et cetera, et cetera. So as a executive coach, I kind of think of myself as like a therapist for business. I am not implying that I'm a therapist, but that's how I approach it. Really trying to understand the pain points, speak and coach and develop to the professional blind spots, understand where my client is going, and really help them navigate those systems. As a person who studies systems and structures, I do understand that some of those things weren't designed with us in mind, us African Americans, Black individuals. So sometimes they have pain points that look like a confidence or a lack thereof, or they're battling with, executive presence that's not necessarily strong, or that's some of the feedback that they've gotten, or, they're struggling with identity negotiation in the sense of how much do I bring to work? How often do I have to code switch? Oftentimes that leaves individuals that look like you and I exhausted. It's not necessarily the workload, it's who I have to pretend to be while I'm at work. So depending on the conversation, the need, the pain point, we use a bit of an assessment to kind of understand, allow that to serve as a data point and concoct a personalized plan from there.
What I love is it's a fully customizable experience. Just for the person.
Yes.
And so what better way to really feel seen? And I think back through even my own personal career, and I was fortunate enough to at one point have an executive coach through a national program I was in.
Yeah.
But I was pretty far into my career, right?
Okay.
When I got there. I wonder how much of a game changer it would have been maybe earlier on my career. Because the only thing you typically get is you might have a mentor at your job who can work with you, who can kind of help you navigate some situations. But this person is probably only going to help you master some of the things that where you are right now. It's not the future person.
Yeah. So I think that there's a notable difference between the mentor and the sponsor. The mentor helps you hone some skill sets, whereas the sponsor is playing your cards at the table, opening up doors for you, introducing you to the individuals that can say yes, or essentially kind of power brokering on your behalf. That executive coach should serve as an external strategic thought partner. It's confidential. You could be your full self. You can kind of let your proverbial hair down, and they're mapping out a roadmap for you and helping you get there. And so, if my client comes to me a problem with, I'm struggling with communicating or addressing my board, what does that look like? Really putting together an individualized plan to help him or her. Primarily, it's usually women, but to help them get to that next level.
Could an executive coach teach a person how to secure a sponsor?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Oftentimes the onus is on the mentee when they're looking to be mentored. But there is some reciprocity that goes into sponsorship and mentorship, but certainly how to navigate that, what to look for, what should this relationship look like, how to approach it. Those are all conversations that we have depending on where they are in their career.
So for you, I want to back it up. Let's slow down, get earlier into your career. At what point could you say or pinpoint a place where executive coaching could have been a benefit to you? Or, what executive coaching earlier in Paris's career changed her trajectory at all?
Yeah, because admittedly, I always wanted to do this, but I didn't necessarily have the language for it. I am first gen, and I didn't necessarily, my family and I really over-indexed and relied on guidance counselors to kind of get me where I am today. My parents just wanted me to be successful, and successful to them kind of meant just surpassing where we went. So we didn't necessarily have a roadmap or have a plan. And even when I got my first job out of college, we're talking many, many many moons ago, I did find it somewhat difficult to navigate because the individuals were playing a game that was somewhat foreign to me. So it was essentially like deploying me and dropping me in Italy and asking me to navigate and rise for the occasion. It's like, my goodness, you guys are speaking a different language than I'm accustomed to. So I think, regardless if it would have been coaching or executive coaching, I certainly could have benefited from it, especially being first gen and just struggling, having no idea how to navigate. Professionalism looks and means something totally different depending on who is at the top of the ticket or who's responsible for cultivating the culture in the organization.
Do you think it's beneficial? I mean, a person can work with an executive coach at many different points in their career.
Yeah.
Is it beneficial when a person is grown and maybe that they've already become successful, or maybe if they're mid-career or maybe beginning career?
I think coaching, so just to my story, I think coaching is beneficial, period, for different things. So when you're first out of school, specifically if you're first gen, I think you should, partner with an external player. Take advantage of those ERGs, get a mentor. Once you get to a certain point in your career, then you look for sponsors. I think that there's a coach for everyone depending on where they are and what they want. So considering the fact that I study systems, I study structures, I study how it impacts African-American women. I primarily see African-American women. That's the bulk of my clientele. Nonetheless, I am trained to work across identities and genders.
Yeah. Okay. So a couple more questions. If I'm newer in my career, right? So I'm new in my career and I'm just getting started. I'm trying to figure out which way to go. Is it more beneficial for me to try to identify a mentor before I would look for some type of executive coaching? Or is it just, should we look to invest in ourselves out the gate and say, let me find an executive coach because you could probably help me find the holes in myself very early on. And maybe I can look to maybe fast track my career?
I think that an executive coach can help you, or they should be able to help you realize some of your professional blind spots and really be able to kind of concoct a plan to kind of mitigate those blind spots. I do think that individuals should possibly really, really come to a mentor or a sponsor or a coach with some sort of formulated idea of what they want and where they're going. I think it's a very tall ask to say, I don't know where I am or what I want to be. So I think that, you need to give them something to work on. But sometimes it's completely honest to say, I'm a little lost in the sauce, and then maybe rely on an assessment, like some sort of career assessment to really figure out what it is that you like doing and what you get your energy by. It took me a long time to get here, but I'm here now. So, yeah.
So I always think too, we met earlier in our careers.
We did, yeah.
But I always think back to being early in my career and hearing from the executives in my organization, you got to pay your dues.
Yeah.
And that was something I took to heart so bad. It was rough for me. You got to pay your dues. You're not ready. And I'm like, well, how many years? How long do I have to pay my dues? Who do I need to talk to?
Yeah.
What do I need to seek out in order to be best, right? And I'm trying.
Yeah.
Back in that time, I was reading the DISC assessments.
Oh, yeah.
And
shout out to DISC.
Anything I could read, right?
Yeah.
I was taking every kind of assessment.
Yeah.
I remember reading a book about called The Energy Bus.
Okay.
And so I read every book I could read. I was trying to, all the self-help books. I wanted to be better. But no matter what I did, and what I thought I knew, nobody was giving me, you still got to pay your dues.
Yeah.
And nothing replaces that experience. I'm thinking to myself, had I known about executive coaching and I had an opportunity to connect with somebody and really start to learn, would it have helped me fast track my career or better help me learn how to cope, how to deal with where I was in the time?
I think it could have done a healthy combination of both. I mean, obviously hindsight is 20/20, but I think, and the qualifying word here is think. I tell my nieces, my nephews, and anyone who'll listen is get a coach. I don't know as much about sports as you do, but what I do know is that a lot of people say that LeBron James is arguably the best basketball player ever. I mean, I take issue with that because I'm from the Kobe era, but they say that They say that he's the best basketball player ever. And the only thing that I know about LeBron is that he's from Akron and he has a coach. So if LeBron James can be arguably one of the best or the best and he has a coach, who am I or you or anyone who's watching this podcast not to have one?
That's incredibly valid. Mm-hmm. So one thing I've read about LeBron is like LeBron is this billionaire now, right?
Yeah. All right.
I guess. Yeah. Multi-million dollars working on his body and himself. Mm-hmm. And so like that's through personal training.
Yes.
That's coaches.
Yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's through eating healthy. Yeah. Coaches. Mm-hmm. That is the mental health. Coaches. Yep. And so in every facet of his life, there are coaches.
Yes.
They're coaches. And here, arguably the greatest basketball player ever is still seeking knowledge from people to help them become a more rounded and better person in every aspect.
And that goes back to my earlier point with regards to establishing a personal board of directors. And when we're looking at a personal board of directors, it's like, again, do you have your structures in place, the executive coaches, the attorneys, the accountants, your healthcare providers, your physician, whatever, but you have to have a personal board of directors. That is how you get ahead. That is a part of the formula of success. And sometimes individuals believe that they're going to circumvent it or they don't need it. But I'm a person who likes research and loves to read others' research. And if you think about some of the individuals who are successful, regardless of how you're defining success, you'll find that they have an entire team. An entire team. When women are getting ready to accept a Grammy, they have a whole glam squad that got them to that night. And think of your life that way. What's your glam squad? What's your personal board of directors? Who is your team, that's propelling and pushing you?
I remember the first time I heard the term personal board of directors, and I was like, who's on my personal board of directors, right? I mean, that's something to really think about.
It is.
I also know that I really didn't know how to fill out that personal board of directors and really until I talked to an executive coach. Yeah. And so I had an executive coach who helped me navigate, helped me break down these are the type of people you need. Yeah. It's one thing to say something generic, right? Yeah. And I know we can say it like, I'm not asking for the secrets in your sauce, right? But like, it's one thing to say it and you think you need, a finance person might be good, but like, why do you really need a finance person? Do you know why you need a finance person? Maybe a tax person. Maybe you may need a combination or something else, right? But having the wherewithal to talk to somebody can help you navigate to really figure out what you need in your life, to me, is a game changer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then, oftentimes when I'm working with entrepreneurs, their work is a little bit different than, a corporate environment. And so sometimes it's really just looking at establishing and examining and establishing different systems that they didn't realize that they need, but systems and processes. If you treat your life like you're trying to win a championship, it just looks a little different. You practice differently and you show up differently. Yeah.
So here's, I'll give you a little bit of a harder question.
Oh, gosh.
Where is the line between having an executive coach who's like, your business therapist and actually needing a therapist?
Well, I don't want to speak out of term because I am not a therapist. I recognize, and I've had one, I'm very open about my dad transitioning and going through grief therapy. I think that is a particular realm where they help with life transitions, mental capacity and or whatever type of suffering. I partnered with a Black woman who her research was in grief, and I was experiencing a great deal of grief. I believe in research. I believe in, medicine and the things that can be proven. And I like to partner with individuals who have proven expertise in that realm. And so when I could recognize and I had the language to say, this is what's happening, I sought someone out who had a proven track record there. So there is a bit of a fine line when we're talking about personal transitions and personal matters versus what's taking place in your professional life. Professionally and personally. Those are two different realms. And I believe that executive coaching should work in concert with therapy. If you are in a space that you need or you desire therapy, those two should work in concert, but they're not the same. They're not the same. They don't approach it. In most cases, they're not using the same frameworks and or methodologies. And they've been studied. They've been cultivated and trained differently. in my experience in therapy, I'm not talking about from practicing, but, being under someone's tutelage, they're really guiding you to kind of come to your own aha moment, to be able to answer your own questions. So it's a little more latitude there, whereas sometimes depending on the individual that I'm working with, it could be a little bit more prescriptive in the sense of, I did an audit here, you're missing this, let's mitigate it, and the plan looks like that.
I appreciate that answer.
Okay.
This question is probably a little bit harder in the way of, I want to make people see the value, right? And so having a therapist can often align with your insurance, right? You can use your insurance and you can get a therapist. Maybe your copay is reduced, or maybe your insurance is really good where it's paid for. And executive coach is a little bit different, right? Because it's something that's probably not covered under your insurance.
I haven't seen that yet.
But the investment should be there. So, and I want people to understand, like, the investment has to be there, and it has to be something that we as professionals need to consider budgeting for.
Absolutely.
And so I really want to just talk about the investment, why a person really should consider making the investment to have executive coaching.
I guess, just really, really short, and not to kind of belabor the point, what does it cost you not to have one? If you're in executive leadership and you're looking to ascend to the C-suite, I mean, you do the simple math. Your salary is this, your salary will be that times, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. What is it costing you to stay in the same place? And so that's only a question that, a possible client can answer. I know what it costs me. I know the benefits and the perks of being on the other side of coaching and being under someone's tutelage who had the necessary skill set to get me to where I'm trying to go, or where I guess I am now. So what does it cost you not to have one?
That was a profound answer.
I try to be profound.
What does it cost you not to have one?
Yeah.
I think I will be thinking about that for a long time.
No, seriously. I mean, I think that's a really, you say that you want to be here and you're there. And so if we're just looking at dollars and cents, if that's the type of, what is it costing you not to have one? Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna ask you a little bit of a fun question now.
Okay, fun.
I like to ask all of my guests, I know what you do professionally.
Yeah.
What's on your playlist right now?
Playlist?
I love to ask, what's on your playlist right now?
Well, when I pulled up, I was listening to Lucy Pearl, and most people, I don't know. Do you remember Lucy Pearl? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. They were
Rocky
like,
LCD.
Yes. And Dawn from En Vogue,
Yes.
and the gentleman from Tribe Called Quest. And so it was like this super group who were supposed to do great things, but they were all divas in their own right and just couldn't overcome this, whatever. But it's like one of my favorite albums next to something that Hov probably dropped. Like Lucy Pearl is my favorite album. I can play it from top to bottom.
Okay.
So that always gets me in a good mood.
All right, so you gave music.
Yeah.
Give me a book.
Come on. Can you be more specific?
Give me a book. What's you're currently reading or listening to right now? Audiobook.
Sister Citizen by Dr. Melissa. Her last name escapes me, but it's essentially about systems and structures and African-American women, or people in general, navigating those systems and structures and what that looks like.
Okay.
But it is Dr. Melissa. I cannot think of her last name. Yeah.
So you've chosen African-American women as your prescribed group. You can work with anybody.
Yeah.
This I know. African-American women specifically, why?
Well, the bulk of on my dad's side, everyone is an activist. Some form of activism is taking place there still to this day, and as a kid, I was searching, trying to figure out a way to get in the game. And, I've marched a few times, but I was looking for a way that I could use my voice in an authentic way. And I kept saying that I wanted to help women. I wanted to help women. I wanted to partner with them. But it wasn't until maybe 6 or 7 years ago that I found my why. And, each and every year I'm just refining it. So this is my form of activism. Not only am I very, very passionate about it, but I'm doing the work. So I have the lived experience. I have the passion coupled with, the knowledge. I think the best professionals, they have the ability to show up with head, heart, and feet. So that knowledge, that passion, and the ability to execute. So I'm doing all three, but that's how I got in the game, wanting to contribute to our experience, our community in a way that felt really authentic to me.
Oh, so I can really appreciate that.
Yep.
One of the things I hear a lot in a lot of conversations, right, in professional circles is burnout and how to prevent burnout. How could an executive coach help a person prevent burnout from happening?
Well, I like to ground all of my interactions with my clients in some form of data. And to your point, you referenced the DISC assessment earlier. That's what I use. And one of the cool things about the DISC assessments is that it talks to you a little bit about, being in alignment, and what that alignment looks like is where is your energy going and where do you get energy and what kind of drains you. And oftentimes some of the professionals that I'm working with, they're out of alignment professionally and they have a job, but the tasks are mundane and they drain them. And then when you're looking at African-American women, trying to navigate that corporate arena by way of code switching and identity negotiation and playing a game that wasn't necessarily designed for you, that can leave you exhausted as well. So really trying to understand first what gives you energy versus what drains you, and possibly concoct a bit of a plan or roadmap that we can get you in front of some other initiatives that that naturally align with who you are as a professional and person. When those two work in concert, I don't want to say that it will prevent you from being burnt out, but in most cases, you don't reach that. If you have the proper systems and structures in place, you don't reach that as fast.
I like that.
Yeah.
I can certainly appreciate that advice.
And also, I would say, understanding your why. I think oftentimes people are on all these boards and in all these organizations, and just really, truly understanding your why. I don't say yes to anything unless it aligns with my North Star. And my North Star is that I'm a professional who helps and partners with African-American women. I do things that, uplift and impact our community. And so I can't say yes to anything that doesn't align with that. So.
Okay. So as we get ready to start wrapping up our interview, I want you to tell the audience some advice that you could offer to the young professional or professional person right now considering getting an executive coach.
I'd say stay curious. Always show up curious. I think that mentorship is key. When I was conducting my research for my study, I interviewed 58 women, and I was with them at minimum an hour. So we're talking about north of 60 hours of just, storytelling and how they were able to navigate. And what was a reoccurring theme was the mentorship and the sponsorship. So I'd say look for both. And then lastly, when you're ready, there's this cliche saying that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So when you're ready, seek out an executive coach. And the right executive coach is a game changer. If anyone, I was going to share how they could reach me. And so for individuals who may have additional questions about executive coaching, I can be reached on LinkedIn. My name is Paris Lampkins. If you want to shoot me an email, it's paris@lampkinsco.com. But I'd love to kind of just have those preliminary conversations and see if there's alignment and synergy.
All right. Well, you've heard it here first. Executive coaching is a must, regardless of where you are in your career. This can really be a game changer for you and where you're looking to go. Again, we want to thank you all for tuning in to another episode of the Cleveland Pulse. And if I don't see you before the next time we record, do the best you can to take care of yourself. Peace.